When you picture a day at the beach, you're probably thinking about sun, sand, maybe collecting a few cool shells. But what if I told you our plastic trash is turning the whole idea of a shell into a deadly trap for one of the beach's most important residents? So our story starts in a place that sounds like absolute paradise, the remote Nicobar Islands, way out in the Indian Ocean. But it's on these beaches, which should be perfect, that researchers Mayur Fulmali and Nehru Prabhakaran stumbled upon a really serious environmental crisis that was hiding in plain sight. Just look at this. I mean, these beaches are supposed to be pristine, but instead, they're just choked with this constant tide of plastic junk, and a lot of it is washing in from thousands of miles away. And hidden inside all this garbage, a quiet tragedy is unfolding for a tiny creature that is absolutely essential to this place. So who are we talking about? The hermit crab. And they are so much more than just some cute little critter you see skittering on the sand. They're the cleanup crew. They're the recyclers, even the gardeners of the beach. By scavenging for food, they keep this entire coastal ecosystem healthy and in balance. They're a huge deal. But here's the thing. To do their job, every single hermit crab has this one fundamental challenge. They have to find a home. And our global addiction to plastic has made that challenge infinitely more dangerous. For a hermit crab, a gastropod shell, well, it's everything. It's not a nice to have, it is a life or death necessity. It's their armor. Without this little mobile home, they are completely exposed to predators, to the heat, to everything. Finding the perfect shell is basically the most important mission of their entire life. And the problem is, good natural shells are getting harder and harder to find. This shortage forces them to make some pretty desperate choices, as the researchers point out right here. They end up using broken shells, or, you guessed it, pieces of our plastic trash. The researchers call it a risky business, and for good reason. These plastic substitutes, they offer almost zero real protection. And this slide just lays out the two big threats perfectly. On one side, you've got this crab trying to use a piece of plastic as a makeshift home, which is bad enough. But the other picture, that shows the much darker reality, plastic becoming a permanent prison, a tomb that they can never, ever escape from. So this gets to the central mystery, right? How do these totally ordinary objects, bottles, cups, containers, become such incredibly effective and deadly traps? That's exactly what the science set out to figure out. The scale of the problem they uncovered is just staggering. Across only 28 remote beaches, just 28, they found and documented 4,783 individual hermit crabs trapped inside plastic. But if that number was shocking, this next one is, well, it's just heartbreaking. It shows you exactly how deadly these traps are. Of all those thousands of crabs, the number they found still alive was just 0.5%. That's a 99.5% mortality rate. Basically, once you're in, you are not getting out. So how on earth does a simple plastic bottle, something we use every day, turn into this inescapable tomb? And this diagram from the study just explains it perfectly. The bottle works like what they call a size-selective filter. It's easy for a crab to crawl in through the opening. But once inside, that smooth, steep shoulder of the bottle, it makes it impossible to get a grip to climb back out. It's a one-way door, a really simple design flaw with absolutely fatal consequences. The whole mechanism is just brutally simple. If a crab shell is just narrow enough to squeeze through that opening, it can get in. But here's the really cruel twist. This means it's the smaller, often younger crabs that are the most likely to get trapped. So we're not just losing individual crabs, we're taking out the next generation, which could have a devastating impact on the entire population. And it turns out, not all bottles are created equal when it comes to being a death trap. The researchers saw a really clear pattern. The large volume bottles, as you can see in this chart, they were the biggest culprits by far. Those big 2-liter and 5-liter containers, they accounted for the huge majority of all the entrapments. Their size and their steep internal shoulders just make them the deadliest things on the beach. Okay, but this story gets even bigger than just the hermit crabs. Because when you start losing this one tiny species in huge numbers, the consequences start to ripple out and affect the entire coastal ecosystem. I mean, it just makes sense, right? You get rid of the cleanup crew, and the whole system starts to break down. Nutrient cycling gets all messed up. Seeds don't get dispersed. Other animals lose a key source of food. And the result is this slow, cascading decline in the health of the entire beach. And this might be the most tragic part of this whole cycle. Hermit crabs, they're opportunists, so when one crab dies inside a bottle, its scent actually attracts other crabs that are looking for a meal or maybe a new shell. This creates what the researchers call a lethal lure. It turns a single plastic bottle into a self-baiting mass grave.
But this research isn't just about documenting a tragedy. What's so powerful about it is that it uses science to point us directly towards some real, achievable solutions. We can actually do something about this.
And the core idea is we can engineer our way out of this problem. Just by making some simple, thoughtful changes to how plastic bottles are designed, we can make them way less deadly for wildlife.
And look how practical these ideas are. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're talking about simple tweaks. Make the opening a little wider, add some texture like little steps or dimples on the inside so animals can get a grip, or just reduce the steepness of that internal shoulder. These are simple engineering fixes. Of course, smarter design is just one piece of the puzzle. The researchers also call for a much bigger approach. Things like making manufacturers responsible for their packaging and setting up systems that actually encourage recycling. It also means getting all of us involved through awareness and citizen science so we can track and tackle this problem on a global scale. Ultimately, this whole thing is about way more than just hermit crabs and bottles. It leaves us with a much bigger question to think about. What if, for every single product we designed, we stopped to think about its impact on even the smallest creatures out there? Imagine that world. It's a powerful idea to take with you.